Hi folks, thanks for joining me for this week's river tutorial. I've been tying an awful lot of bugs lately, so I thought I would give myself and you a break and show you a little dry fly. This is a Yellow Dun. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise then is a Hanak H130 barbless hook. This one's at size 10, it's tied on a fine wire and it's in black nickel. The thread I'm going to be using is the Veevus, it's the E09 and it's at 8/0, and as you can see it's a yellow dun coloured thread. First thing I'm going to do is just get a tiny bit of wax onto the end of my thread. I'm going to rub my hands through it just to remove any of the excess, and then I'm going to start in behind the eye and just get a bit of thread onto the shank of the hook. And I'm going to run that up to slightly past the point and then remove the waste. Now for the tail of this fly, I've simply got a cock feather, and I'm going to use some of the fibres from this for the tailing, and I want between 5 and 6 fibres. Don't want it too thick, but just enough. And I'm going to lay it on, and it needs to be about the length of the body. So catch that on and get it into place. Now next I'm going to add our wire rib. The wire rib I'm using is this stuff from Troutline. It's designed actually for Perdigon nymphs, but actually I've found lots of different uses for it. Great stuff. And this one's a plum colour, but you can use black, but the plum's dark enough and I thought I would get away with it. So I've just used this because it's what I've got. And I'm going to just catch that in again, full length of the body. And now I'm going to take some time to just make sure I've got the right length. I'm going to come slightly past. So I've just gone past the point of the hook by about 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to start working my way up. Nice touch and turns if you can get them, just makes the fly look a little bit nicer. And I want to get a little bit of a taper into this thorax end if you like. So I'm going to just come back just to beyond halfway, and then again all the way back up to where the wing's going to go. So looking at that, I'm fairly pleased with it. I can then bring my rib up. Wants to be about 2 millimeters apart. Bring it all the way up through your thorax area, and then that can be caught in at the end there. So a couple of turns over and then a couple of turns in front. If I hold pressure down on the thread, I can then simply twist away and remove the wire. So far so good. Next I'm going to add some CDC. Now what I've done is a friend sent me some natural CDC straight from the back end of a duck, I'm told. No messing. Now I've taken 4 or 5 of the fibres, and there'll be quite a lot of messing actually pulling these out of a duck's backside, but yeah, let's move on. I've taken 4 or 5 of the feathers and I've aligned the tips, and I'm lining it up, and I want it to be slightly longer than the length of the shank of the hook, which I've got there. And before I attempt to rattle that down, I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of wax to my thread just to help with getting that's sitting where I want it. Now I've put 3 locking turns in there. What I'm going to do is pull all that back and get 2 or 3 turns in front. Then I can simply come in with my scissors, confident in the fact that when I snip this away, my thread's not going to back up and my CDC is going to come loose. So something's caught in there. So I'm going to just give it another couple of turns to slightly tidy it up, but I'm not overly worried. I'll sort that out in a minute. Now, I'm just spinning this Veevus thread anti-clockwise because it is made up of fibres and I can't split the thread, which I need to do because I'm going to add a little thorax area. And what I'm using is Snowshoe rabbit foot dubbing. This is from Nature Spirit, and as you can see, it's number 12 and it's a bright yellow colour, really vibrant. I've already taken some out the packet and stuck it in a little fly clip. So while I've been waffling there, hopefully the thread has now spun itself out and I can come in with my bodkin needle and just split that thread. So the best way of doing this is just bringing the needle up, flatten the thread out, and then it should part for you in a pleasing loop that you can then insert your clip. So I'll just open that up a bit, bring the clip in, and I've used about 5, maybe 4 centimeters actually of dubbing. So the distance between there and the end of the dubbing is about 4 centimeters. It does take a little bit of practice to get the proportions right, but once you've got it, you'll never look back. Okay, I've spun that up. Now again, there's way too much material in there, so I'm going to come in, thin that out with my fingers. Don't throw that away, just put it back in the packet. It means it lasts a lot longer. Okay, so I've got my dubbing loop already. I'm going to lift my wing up and come in just behind the wing. Now what I want to do is I want this dubbing loop I've created to cock the wing up, so when it sits in the water it sits in the film rather than right on top of the water if it was flat to the back of the fly. Then I can bring the remainder of my dubbing through and just tidy up this front area with a couple of turns. And as ever, to finish off, I'm going to add a little UV resin to my thread, come in with my whip finish tool, and then you can trim that away. Try not to cut your wing off, that's never good. And then you can cure that off. Now there's lots of variations of the emerging Yellow Dun, and this is just something that you might want to try. Again, you know, you can mess about with different coloured wings, but this works okay. It should do your turn. Next year now, of course. I don't think it'll be much good to you now. But there we go, that's the Yellow Dun. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you're enjoying the channel. If you are, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate your support.